My entire family stood in our backyard mocking my so-called fake fiancé while he was literally descending from the sky in a helicopter. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. This story gets better with every minute. My name is Sophia, and I am 29 years old. I have spent most of my adult life being the family disappointment, the black sheep, the one who chose wrong. Standing in my parents' perfectly manicured backyard in Charleston, South Carolina, surrounded by my sister Miranda's engagement party guests, I felt that familiar weight of inadequacy pressing down on my chest. The late afternoon sun beat down mercilessly. My borrowed silk dress clung to my skin, and my sister's voice rang out across the garden loud enough for everyone to hear. So where is this mystery fiancé of yours? Or did you make him up? Conversations died around us. Heads turned. People paused with champagne glasses halfway to their lips, eager to witness my humiliation. He is running late from work, I said quietly, gripping my glass tighter. He will be here. My mother laughed. That sharp, brittle sound that had haunted my childhood. Work on a Saturday afternoon? Really, sweetheart, you do not have to keep up this charade. We all know there is no fiancé. I felt my face flush hot with embarrassment and anger. This was exactly why I had stopped coming to family events. Every holiday, every birthday, every celebration turned into an opportunity for them to remind me that I was not good enough, that I had chosen wrong, that my life was somehow less valuable than theirs. Let me back up and explain how I got to this moment. Because this humiliation, this public mockery, it had been building for years. I work as a marine biologist. I spend months at sea studying coral reef ecosystems in the Caribbean and Pacific. It is not glamorous by my family's standards. It certainly does not pay well compared to my sister's law career or my brother-in-law's investment banking position. But it is mine. It matters. Every reef I study, every conservation project I contribute to, it makes a difference in ways my family has never understood or cared to understand. While Miranda excelled at everything from her law degree at Yale to her engagement to Richard, a successful investment banker with a corner office and a trust fund, I chose a different path. I chose passion over prestige, purpose over profit, and my family never let me forget what a mistake that was. My father stood near the barbecue, holding court with Richard's father and several other men in expensive suits. He caught my eye and smirked. "Victoria has always been creative," he announced loudly. "Remember when she said she was going to save the oceans? Now she is inventing boyfriends." The men laughed. Some of the guests looked uncomfortable, but most seemed entertained by the spectacle of my humiliation. Miranda smiled sweetly, her hand resting on Richard's arm, her enormous diamond ring catching the sunlight like a weapon. She had called me 2 weeks ago to tell me about this engagement party. In a moment of weakness, exhausted from a 3-week research expedition and feeling particularly lonely, I had mentioned I was seeing someone. That single comment had spiraled completely out of control. My family assumed I was engaged. They talked over me when I tried to correct them. They were already planning how to show me up at Miranda's celebration, how to prove once again that I would never measure up to my perfect sister. "Tell us about him," Miranda pressed, her green eyes glinting with malicious glee. "What does this phantom fiancé do? Where did you meet him?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. The truth was complicated. 3 months ago, I met someone during a research expedition in the Caribbean. His name was Dominic. He had been funding marine conservation projects across the region, millions of dollars invested in reef restoration, ocean cleanup initiatives, sustainable fishing programs. We spent 2 weeks together, talking late into the night about ocean preservation, sharing meals in tiny coastal restaurants, watching sunsets from his yacht while discussing the alarming rate of coral bleaching and what could be done to reverse it. When the expedition ended, he kissed me goodbye and said he would see me again soon. Since then, we had exchanged messages almost daily, video calls when his schedule allowed. He had visited me twice in Charleston, once for 3 days and once for an entire week. But we had never discussed labels or the future. We simply existed in this strange, wonderful space where I felt more understood than I ever had in my life. He saw my work as important. He asked questions about my research with genuine curiosity. He made me feel like what I did mattered. Like I mattered, in a way my family never had. "He is in environmental work," I said carefully. "He invests in conservation projects." My mother snorted. "So he is unemployed." "That tracks." "No, Mom," I protested. "That is not what I said." "A trust fund baby-playing activist," Richard interjected with a smirk. "How progressive of you, Sophia." I felt tears burning behind my eyes but refused to let them fall. This was my life. Every single time I tried to share something important, something meaningful, they reduced it to nothing. They made me feel small, worthless, like everything I cared about was just some childish phase I would eventually grow out of. "He is actually quite successful," I said, hating the defensive note in my voice. He is just private about his work. Because he does not exist, Miranda sang out. Several guests chuckled. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, seeing Dominic's name on the screen. Running late, traffic, be there in 20 minutes, love you. My heart squeezed at those last two words. He had started saying them a week ago during one of our video calls. Every time it felt like a small miracle. Let me guess, my father said, noticing my phone. He is canceling. He is 20 minutes away, I replied, my voice barely audible. My father checked his watch theatrically. 20 minutes. Right. I will believe it when I see it. Which will be never, my mother added. The next 20 minutes were torture. My family continued their party, occasionally glancing at me with pitying looks and smug smiles. Miranda held court near the champagne fountain, regaling guests with stories about her upcoming wedding at some exclusive Charleston venue. Richard's parents discussed their son's latest promotion. Everyone seemed to be having a wonderful time at my expense. I stood alone near the garden's edge, checking my phone every 30 seconds. 15 minutes. 10 minutes. 5 minutes. Then I heard it. A sound that started as a distant thrum and grew louder. Rhythmic. Mechanical. Distinctive. The unmistakable sound of helicopter rotors. Conversations stopped. People looked up at the sky, shielding their eyes from the Sunday. The noise grew louder, closer, until it was impossible to ignore. What on earth? My mother said. Is that a helicopter? The aircraft appeared over the tree line, sleek and black, descending toward the large open lawn adjacent to my parents' property. The Johnsons next door had a massive yard they used for events, and apparently Dominic had arranged permission to land there. The helicopter touched down with surprising gentleness. The rotors began to slow, and then the door opened. Dominic stepped out. Even from a distance, he was striking, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit that probably cost more than my car. Dark hair slightly mussed from the helicopter ride. He walked toward us with the kind of easy confidence that comes from never having to prove yourself to anyone. Behind him, the helicopter sat gleaming in the afternoon sun like something out of a movie. My family stood frozen, mouths open, champagne glasses forgotten. The entire party had ground to a complete halt. Everyone watched as this man, this impossibly handsome, impossibly wealthy man, walked straight toward me. He reached the garden gate, pushed it open, and crossed the lawn in long strides. When he reached me, he cupped my face in his hands and kissed me. Not a polite peck, a real kiss, the kind that made my toes curl and my heart race. When he pulled back, he smiled. Sorry I am late, he said, his voice warm and slightly amused. Traffic was terrible. I could not help it. I started laughing. The absurdity of it all, the perfect timing, the looks on my family's faces, it was too much. Dominic, I said, still laughing. This is my family. He turned to face them, extending his hand to my father. Dominic Ashford, he said smoothly. It is a pleasure to finally meet you all. Sophia has told me so much about you. My father shook his hand automatically, still staring at the helicopter visible over the fence. Ashford, he repeated, his voice strange. As in Ashford Industries? Dominic smiled modestly. My family's company, yes. Though I focus primarily on our conservation division now. The silence that followed was deafening. Ashford Industries was one of the largest privately held companies in the country. Shipping, technology, renewable energy, real estate. The Ashford family name appeared on buildings, hospitals, university wings. They were the kind of wealthy that made Richard's investment banking salary look like pocket change. And Dominic, this man who had just arrived in a helicopter to attend my sister's engagement party, was an Ashford. I watched the realization dawn on my mother's face. She looked from Dominic to me and back again, her expression cycling through shock, disbelief, and something that might have been horror. Miranda stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Richard looked like he had been slapped. You? My father started, then stopped. You are Sophia's fiancé? Dominic put his arm around my waist, pulling me close. I am, he said. Though I should clarify, we have not formally announced anything yet. Sophia prefers to keep her private life private, which I respect completely. He looked down at me, his eyes soft. But she mentioned this party, and I wanted to meet the people who matter to her. My mother finally found her voice. I am so sorry, she said, her face pale. We did not, we thought. Oh my God, we thought she was making you up. I can imagine why you might think that, Dominic said calmly. Sophia mentioned she has not been home much lately. Her research keeps her quite busy. Actually, that is part of why I am here today. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. He turned to me, opening the box to reveal a ring. Not just any ring, a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds, the deep blue stone, the exact color of the ocean on a perfect day. Sophia, he said softly, His eyes locked on mine. I know we said we would wait, that we would take things slow, but watching you stand here, dealing with people who do not see your worth, who do not understand the incredible work you do, it made me realize something. I do not want to wait anymore. I love you. I love your passion, your dedication, your stubborn refusal to compromise your values for anyone. Will you marry me? The garden was so quiet I could hear birds singing in the distance. Everyone stared at us, waiting. I looked at Dominic, this man who had literally flown in on a helicopter to support me, who saw me for who I truly was, who valued the work I did and the person I was trying to be. Yes, I whispered. Then louder yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger and kissed me again to scattered applause from the guests. When we broke apart, I saw tears in Miranda's eyes. Not tears of joy, tears of shame. My mother looked devastated. My father kept glancing at the helicopter, then at Dominic, then at me, like he could not quite process what was happening. I am going to get us some champagne, Dominic said, squeezing my hand. Take your time with your family. He walked toward the bar, leaving me alone with my parents and sister. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Finally, my mother spoke. Sophia? We? Oh God, what have we done? You have spent the last hour telling everyone my fiancé is fake, I said quietly. You mocked my career, my choices, my entire life, just like you always do. But he is, Miranda started, then stopped. He is Dominic Ashford, the Dominic Ashford. Sophia, do you have any idea how wealthy he is? Yes, I said, and it does not matter to me. What matters is that he respects my work. He sees value in what I do. He does not make me feel small or worthless or like I need to apologize for my choices. My father cleared his throat. We owe you an apology. You think? I asked, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. You invited me here just to humiliate me, to prove once again that I am the family disappointment. Well, congratulations. You succeeded. Sophia, please, my mother said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. Do you know what the worst part is? I asked. It is not that you did not believe I had a fiancé. It is that you could not imagine anyone would want to be with me, that even the idea of me being loved and valued by someone seemed impossible to you. That is what hurts. Miranda stepped forward, mascara running down her cheeks. You are right, she said, her voice breaking. We have been terrible to you. I have been terrible to you. I was jealous, Sophia. You always knew exactly what you wanted. You never cared what anyone thought. You just went after your dreams while I followed the path everyone expected. Law school, the right job, the right man. And I resented you for having the courage I never did. I stared at my sister. In all our years of rivalry and competition, she had never said anything like this to me. That does not excuse how we treated you today, my father said heavily. Or any other day. You are our daughter. We should have supported your choices, even if we did not understand them. Especially because we did not understand them. Dominic returned with 2 glasses of champagne, handing one to me. He stood beside me, a silent show of support. Everything all right? He asked quietly. Not really, I said. But it will be. He nodded, understanding immediately that this was something I needed to handle myself. I looked at my family. My parents who had spent years making me feel inadequate. My sister who had competed with me for everything and won every time. I have spent so long trying to earn your approval, I said, trying to prove that my life matters, that my work is important. But I realize now that I do not need your validation. I love what I do. I am making a real difference in the world. And I found someone who sees that, who values that, who supports that. That is enough. My mother wiped her eyes. Will you give us a chance to do better? She asked. To be better? I do not know, I said honestly. That depends on whether you actually change or if this is just embarrassment talking because you realize my fiancé is wealthy and connected. That is fair, my father said. More than fair. The party resumed awkwardly. Guests who had witnessed my humiliation now approached cautiously, introducing themselves to Dominic, asking about his work with transparently false enthusiasm. I watched it all with a strange detachment. Dominic stayed by my side, his hand never leaving mine, running interference when people got too intrusive, changing subjects when conversations veered toward uncomfortable territory. At one point, Richard approached us. I owe you an apology, he said stiffly to me. My comments earlier were completely inappropriate. Yes, they were, I agreed, not making it easy for him. I did not realize, he started, that my worth as a person might not be tied to how much money I make. I finished. That someone might value things other than status and prestige? He flushed. Point taken. Look, Richard, I said, softening slightly. I do not need you to be impressed by Dominic's wealth or his family name. I need you to respect that what I do matters. That conservation work, marine biology, protecting our oceans, These things have value even if they do not come with corner offices and seven-figure salaries. I understand, he said. And for what it is worth, Miranda talks about your work sometimes. She is proud of you, even if she has a hard time showing it. As the evening wore on, the party began to wind down. Dominic had arranged for his helicopter to wait, the pilot having been given accommodations at a nearby hotel. Before we left, my mother pulled me aside. I want you to know something, she said, her voice thick with emotion. What happened today? It was a wake-up call. We have been terrible parents to you. We measured your success by our standards instead of appreciating what you have accomplished on your own terms. That was wrong. We were wrong. I do not know what to say to that, I admitted. You do not have to say anything, she replied. Just know that we are going to do better. Starting now, we want to understand your work, to support it. If you will let us. I will think about it, I said. That is all I can promise right now. She nodded, hugging me carefully. When she pulled back, she looked at the ring on my finger. It is beautiful, she said softly. The ocean blue. It suits you perfectly. Dominic chose it, I said. He knows me. As Dominic and I walked toward the gate, Miranda caught up with us. Sophia, wait, she said. I stopped, turning to face her. I am sorry, she said simply, for everything. Not just today, but for years of being a terrible sister. You deserved better from me. She paused, then added, He seems wonderful. He is, I said. I am happy for you, Miranda said, and I could tell she meant it. Really happy. And maybe if you will let me, I would like to be the sister you deserved all along. Maybe, I echoed. We will see. The helicopter ride back to Dominic's place was surreal. We flew over Charleston as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. You okay? Dominic asked, taking my hand. I do not know, I admitted. Today was intense. It was, he agreed. For what it is worth, I am sorry I showed up like that. I know it was over the top. Are you kidding? I said, laughing. That was the most spectacular entrance I have ever seen. My entire family's faces when you stepped out of that helicopter. It was priceless. He grinned. I may have enjoyed it a little bit. A little bit, I teased. You proposed in front of everyone. I did, he said, his expression turning serious. And I meant every word. I know we had not talked about it yet, and if it was too fast, we can take it back. No, I said quickly. I do not want to take it back. Today showed me something important. What is that? That I spent so long caring about what my family thought that I forgot to focus on what actually matters. You. Us. The life we are building together. The work we both care about. That is what is real. He kissed me softly. So we are really doing this? He asked. Getting married? We are really doing this, I confirmed. Though maybe we can skip the big Charleston wedding and do something small. Just us and people who actually care. Deal, he said. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. My family actually tried. My mother called me 3 times to apologize again. She asked about my research, listened to my answers, asked follow-up questions that showed she was genuinely trying to understand. My father sent me an email with a link to a documentary about ocean conservation, saying it made him think of me. Miranda started texting me regularly, sharing articles about marine biology, asking if we could have lunch. The change was not immediate or perfect. Old habits die hard, and there were moments when the old dismissive attitudes crept back in. But each time it happened, they caught themselves, apologized, tried to do better. It was awkward and uncomfortable and sometimes painful, but it was also progress. Dominic and I set a wedding date 6 months out. Small ceremony on a beach in the Caribbean, just close friends and family. My parents asked if they could come. I said yes. Miranda asked if she could be my maid of honor. I thought about it for a week before agreeing. But the biggest surprise came from my father. 2 months after the engagement party, he called me with a proposition. He wanted to establish a conservation fund in my name, dedicating resources to marine research and reef restoration. I thought he was joking at first, but he was serious. He had already consulted with his financial advisor and Dominic about the logistics. Why? I asked suspiciously. Because I am ashamed, he said bluntly. Ashamed of how I treated you. Ashamed that it took seeing you with someone like Dominic to make me realize the value of your work. I want to do better. I want to support what you do, not because your fiancé is wealthy and important, but because you are my daughter and your work matters. I cried on the phone. My father, who had spent years dismissing my career, was now putting his money where his mouth had never been. The fund was established a month later. The Victoria Conservation Fund. My mother insisted on the name, saying it was time my accomplishments were recognized on their own merit. They held a small launch event, inviting colleagues from my research institution, marine biologists I had worked with, Conservation organizations I had partnered with over the years, not society, people, or business contacts, but people who actually cared about ocean preservation. My father gave a speech. He talked about how proud he was of me, how he had failed to see the importance of my work for too long, how he was grateful for the chance to support it now. I watched from the audience, Dominic's hand in mine, and felt something shift inside me. It was not forgiveness exactly. Not yet. But it was the beginning of healing. The wedding itself was perfect in ways I never imagined possible. Small and intimate, with our closest friends and family gathered on a pristine Caribbean beach. The same beach where Dominic and I had first met. My parents were there, watching with genuine pride and support. Miranda stood beside me as my maid of honor, tears streaming down her face as she adjusted my veil. Richard, surprisingly, had become an advocate for environmental causes, using his financial expertise to help conservation organizations manage their funds more effectively. My father walked me down the makeshift aisle, whispering one more time how proud he was of me. As Dominic slipped the wedding band onto my finger, a match to my engagement ring with sapphires the color of the ocean behind us, I looked out at the small gathering of people we loved. My family, imperfect but trying. Our friends and colleagues, united by shared passion for conservation. And Dominic, my partner in every sense of the word, smiling at me like I had hung the moon. The years after that engagement party had been transformative, not just for me, but for my entire family. My parents had established the Conservation Fund, which now supported 3 different marine research projects. Miranda's law firm provided pro bono legal services to environmental organizations. She had become an advocate for ocean protection legislation. Richard had joined the board of a major conservation nonprofit. But the most unexpected change had been in my relationship with my family. We had dinner together once a month. They actually asked about my work, listened to my answers, celebrated my successes. My mother had framed my published paper and hung it in their living room, showing it to anyone who visited. My father had read every article I had written, highlighting passages and asking questions. Miranda and I had become real sisters, texting regularly, supporting each other through challenges, celebrating victories together. As for Dominic and me, we built a life that was equal parts adventure and stability. We split our time between Miami, where I taught and conducted research, and various project sites around the world where Dominic's conservation work took us. We bought a small house near the water where we could watch sunsets and plan our next project. Every day felt like a gift. Working side by side to protect the ecosystems we loved, building a future together, standing on that beach, exchanging vows with the man I loved while my family watched with genuine pride and support. I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. My family had ridiculed my fake fiancé. They had called me a disappointment. They had tried to humiliate me in front of everyone who mattered to them. But that day had become a turning point, not an ending, because Dominic had shown up, literally descended from the sky, and forced them to see what they had been missing all along. The revenge I got was not the bitter, destructive kind. It was better than that. It was the revenge of living well, of building a life so full of purpose and love that their early dismissal of me became irrelevant. It was watching them realize what they had almost lost and seeing them work to be better. It was standing on this beach about to start a marriage built on mutual respect and shared values, knowing that I would never again let anyone make me feel less than I was. As Dominic kissed me and our small gathering cheered, I thought about that girl at Miranda's engagement party, standing alone while her family mocked her. I wished I could tell her that everything was going to be okay, that the man she was waiting for would arrive in the most spectacular way possible, that her family would eventually come around, that her work would be recognized and celebrated, that she would find happiness she never thought possible. But mostly, I wished I could tell her what I had finally learned, that her worth was not determined by her family's approval or anyone else's validation. She was enough exactly as she was, doing exactly what she loved. The rest would follow. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below telling me your thoughts. Have you ever had to prove your worth to people who should have always seen it? Your story might help someone else. Until next time, remember that your value is not determined by other people's inability to see it. You are enough. Your dreams matter. Your work matters. And someday, the right person will see that and arrive in whatever metaphorical helicopter it takes to prove it to everyone else. Take care of yourselves out there, and never let anyone make you feel small.